What's up, homies? Shaman Zo here. If this is on YouTube, please like and subscribe. So let's talk about the practical side of spirituality. So before we even get started, we have to talk about how this is mostly for left hemisphere thinkers. Left hemisphere thinkers are logic and linear thinkers. Right hemisphere thinkers are the creatives and the intuitives. The right hemisphere thinkers can just feel into things. They don't need to know all the reasons or the minutia or the details. Left hemisphere thinkers want to know all the details, all the minutia, and they're going to have a lot of questions. I like to think of myself as a dual hemisphere. I can feel into things and I can logically take big, weird concepts that seem sort of unrelated, nebulous, and weed out the things that aren't needed, focus on the things useful, and then present them to other people. So this video is mostly for left hemisphere thinkers because they need reasons for things. The right hemisphere thinkers don't need a reason why spirituality works for them. It just feels good, it feels right, and that's enough for them. So if you are a right hemisphere thinker and you'd like to share this with your left hemisphere thinkers, please do. All right, let's get started. The two armies metaphor. If you have two armies that are perfectly matched, and I mean clones of each other, same amount of men, same technology, same battlefield, same generals, one of them believes in God, the other one does not. How is that going to play out? Now, let's say you take 100 battles. Now, chances are the ones that believe in God are going to win 60-70% of the time. Well, why would that be? They have a psychological advantage because they believe they're being held together and empowered and protected by an invisible force. Even if it's a placebo, it's still effective. Now, the other army may be only fighting for land or because their king told them to do so. It's completely obligatory. Some of them probably don't even want to be there. They're uninspired and they don't feel protected. So rather than feeling inspired and guided, they just feel like they're a tool or a cog in a machine that's going into this mouth of destruction, which is the war. Now, to take the bloodshed out of that, let's use that metaphor and apply it to the war within ourselves. We all have a light and a dark side, the two wolves, that whole thing. If you believe you are fighting that war between your light and your shadow by yourself, then yes, it's going to feel like a losing war. But if you do believe that your soul and your ego are fighting for the driver's seat and that your soul is supported by source and that the ego is just a function of the mind, then you have a much greater chance of winning the light versus dark battle. The other placebo effect of believing in creator or God is feeling good. When we connect to spirit or source, we release different chemicals into our body, things like serotonin, dopamine. Our brain state changes when we're in a meditative or spiritually connected state. There's a physical, noticeable, measurable result. They've actually put EKG machines on monks' heads to monitor their brain signals when they're in a meditative state. And because they are masters of their body and mind, they can actually shift their brain waves from an alpha to a beta, delta, or theta wavelength. So the next one is mathematically, it cannot be ruled out that there is some sort of creator or organizing mind or source or God. Now, just like we don't have proof for extraterrestrials, but we have evidence, same thing goes for creator. There is no hard proof. We have yet to have a deity show up in the sky and say, here's who I am and this is what I look like and here's all my rules and stories. We don't have that hard proof yet, but what we do have is evidence. And just like extraterrestrials, when you look at how big the universe is and you start to do the math on how many planets could inhabit stars, chances are there are 1,000 to 10,000 civilizations out there like our own, just based on odds alone. So mathematically, even though there's a 1 in a billion or a trillion chance, 1 is still infinitely greater than 0. Let's talk about hope. The acronym I use for hope is holding open possibilities every day or eternally, whatever word you want to use. Sometimes you lose everything, and I mean everything. Maybe you've been in a divorce, a life-altering accident, you've overcome addiction, you've lost a family member, you've lost your house, your car, your kids, your money, your sanity, you've been traumatized. Maybe you've even lost your identity in the middle of all of that because now that you've lost it all, you don't know who you are. Or maybe all of the above at the same time. Believe it or not, that's happened to me on more than one occasion. The Filipino shaman call this a shamanic initiatory crisis. And I can tell you from experience, it's the least fun thing to go through. But it teaches you something that you couldn't learn any other way. Maybe you've literally lost your life, like physically died and come back to life. Maybe you've become emotionally broken, mentally broken, physically broken, and spiritually disconnected. There's something that happens when you lose everything. This is when I picture me and Spirit sitting by the fire and Spirit saying, all right, kiddo, what are you going to do now? There's no coincidence that all these different people throughout history that have been through life-changing, spirit-crushing, mind-altering challenges have all found the same thing. At some point, when you have nothing left, all you have is your soul, and that soul is talking to Source. Sometimes Source is the thing, it's the turning point that gives us hope, health. Now, if you watched my video about the 4 bodies, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body, there's something that happens when we access our spiritual energy. Things like healing, miracles, breakthroughs, opening up, and letting go. And if you look at people who study and practice yoga, study and meditate, spiritual leaders, spiritual teachers, people who eat well, people who practice compassion and love and connection all the time, they literally look different. They literally have a glow to them. They're happy all the time. They have less ailments. Now, some call it chi, some call it ki, some call it prana, some call it mana, some call it ether. We don't know what it is exactly, but there is some force that we don't understand. And in very rare cases, this chi or energy is overflowing so greatly within this person, they don't age. They don't even need to eat or drink water anymore. It's crazy, but it happens. Now, if there's anything science has taught us, is that we think that we know everything up until a certain point, and then we learn something beyond that, or we learn that what we knew was incomplete or just plain wrong. So scientifically speaking, we're uncovering new things all the time. I have this theory that when we develop some sort of goggles where we can see spirit energy, then spirituality will leave the metaphysical realm and enter the physical realm. Meta meaning beyond or invisible, physical meaning here, now, visible matter. Just like when atoms were a theory, they were in the metaphysical realm and then we could see them. Or even microorganisms, they were a theory based on evidence, but we didn't have any proof. And then once we could see them under a microscope, they left the metaphysical realm and entered the physical realm. So there is a chance that there is spiritual energy all around us and flowing through us and connecting us to everything. We just can't see it yet. And in the scientific possibility or quantum probability, that is where faith and knowing resides. And lastly, when I feel connected, I feel whole, I feel happy, I feel like I have direction, I feel strength, I feel courage, compassion, and all the other realms of the spectrum of love. When I feel disconnected, I feel lost, I feel scared, I feel disempowered, I don't know what to do. I can't help myself, let alone others. In my life, in my relationships, and especially in my line of work, I keep constant connection and I keep a healthy relationship with spirit. At the end of the day, religion is a series of stories and rules created by man. Spirituality is a relationship that each person has with their source. There's a difference and the distinction is important. And I am under the opinion that you have the right to engage in one, the other, both, or neither. Whatever is helping your life work, pushing you towards a healthy, well, loving life full of gratitude, that's the way you should go. And if you feel at some point you've hit a dead end and it feels empty, then maybe think about changing directions or opening up to new things. So there you go, my logical argument for spirituality. And again, if you're a right hemisphere, intuitive, creative thinker, you didn't need this video to begin with, but hopefully it gave you some insights or things you could share with some friends that need to hear this today. Or maybe it just strengthened your roots in spirituality because now you have some left-brained explanations to something you already felt was true. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it. I love making these videos. I love sharing these with the world, and I appreciate your guys' support. If this is on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Peace.